Our next speaker, I can talk about a lot. There's a lot to say, and since we have a good mood, he will keep it like that. I can assure you that. Stoyan Yankov will be our next speaker. He has a lot of experience. He has interviewed loads of famous people, and he's giving us quotes and knowledge from them. Stoyan, I know you will tell us a lot about your experience, and I will give that to you. Ladies and gentlemen, applause for Stoyan.
Hey. How are you guys doing? Good? How many of you have been on the pre-event that I was part of? Okay, all right, full room. I feel like the energy is a little bit low, so everybody, let's stand up. Everybody stand up, all right? I know you got a little bit of breathing, right? So what we're gonna do right now is, I want you to go to 5 people and come here for our exhibition. Just here, it's fine. I want you to go to 5 people, random people. You look at them in the face, put a little smile, yeah? And then you give them a high five and say, you look gorgeous today. All right? You look gorgeous today. All right, everybody, 5 people at least. You look gorgeous today. Hey. The timer is... Okay. All right. You look gorgeous. Okay, all right, guys. I have a limited time, okay? I have a limited time. Cool, slides. Where are we? Okay, we're there. All right, so let's get on going. We talked about time management and productivity. Today we'll talk about team performance. Less than 2 years. This is the average time that some of the biggest companies in the world manage to retain their people. These are the companies that can offer the best paychecks and benefits, and still people are leaving. And when you ask them, why'd you leave? I look at the report. These are some of the reasons that they say. Everything is emergency. No feedback is given. No appreciation is given. Manager takes all the credit. Anybody relates a little bit? Some of you with your manager here, right? So the entire corporate culture. So if you look at the reasons, none of these reasons are really related to paycheck benefits. Like, of course, it's important, but it's more related to people. Okay? And I know he was talking a lot about this morning, Kevin started. You know, it was all about performing teams. Now it's about the job, but I'll talk about performing teams, actually, when we come back to this. The entire corporate culture, guys. By the way, let's give a hand to the guys in the back because they're fucking amazing. All right? A little bit more statistics, guys. Only 13% of all employees in Europe are engaged in the workplace, according to Gallup. 13%. The rest of the 87%, what are they doing? Some of you are here in this room. Yeah? So how many of you are managing people? You have to lead at least one person. Direct report, okay? All right, how many of you think you're a good manager? They asked Germans, how many of you think you're a good manager? 97% of Germans think they're a good manager. I am a decent manager. And then they ask their people, the employees that they manage, how many of you think you have a good manager? 69% think they have a bad manager. So what's going on, right? We have people that are not staying at their jobs much, right? The companies cannot keep their people. We have, what do we have? Only 30% of people, so people are not really engaged at the workplace, even if they're there. And then we have employees that don't believe that their managers are managing them well. What are we doing? How do we get from there? I want to share with you, in the short time that I have, a little bit of information. Why is that important? And I feel like sometimes in organization, we focus a little bit too much on productivity. I love productivity, efficiency, systems, getting things done, results. But we forget a little bit to focus on the other pillar that's really important when it comes to success in organization, caring for the people, putting people first. Every company says we put people first, right? But what do we really do? with our actions. And the funny thing is that organizations that put people first, they perform better. There's so many studies that show it. If you do it the right way, productivity matters, results matter, demands matter. Caring is not a bad word. It's not a soft word. I want to share with you a lot of ideas that came from my experience traveling, living abroad, being a movie producer, which, by the way, is all about building performing teams, short budgets, short deadlines. You have to perform. Through working with many organizations, when you work with many organizations, you see what works well, you see what doesn't work well. Talking to many people through my speaking career, inviting them on the podcast, people like Guy Kawasaki, the founder of Reebok, unicorn founders, and of course, spending 4 years to write 2 books and putting on the stuff there. 2 books with the title. In the title, I have perform. And some people ask me, hey, Stoyan, what should I do so my team can be performing? And it's always, for me, it's like, I don't know. Everybody's looking for the magic pill. This one practice, this one guru is going to give me the strategy that's going to make my team perform. Bad news, you have to do the work. You have to do the work on a daily basis. It's like leadership is like a gardening. You can't go and just clean up the garden, everything is amazing, you water the plants and it's awesome. No, you have to do it again tomorrow. And again and again and again. But what I want to give you is a little structure, a little bit of a framework that we've implemented now in hundreds of companies across the globe. It's nothing new, but I want you to take some notes and say, what is 1, 2, 3 ideas I can implement from tomorrow? Structure, system, the perform methodology. Perform is an acronym, and I argue is that if you care about those 7 areas that I'm going to share with you on a consistent basis, you might have a shot to build a big performing team. But you have to be committed. It's a long-term thing. Perform. P stands for purpose and values. Purpose. Why do we do what we do? What is the bigger picture? What is the impact we're making as an organization? How much do we articulate the purpose and the mission? If you see any reports, you can see millennials, Gen Z, one of the first things they care about is purpose. They want to know that they matter. They want to know that when they do development, this thing that they're doing is going to make the life of somebody better. How much do we articulate these things? I had a conversation with the president of Starbucks a few times. He actually wrote the foreword for my book, a really great guy. And he told me the story in the 90s. You probably guys know the Starbucks in the 80s, they had 15 shops selling coffee beans. They didn't have coffee shops. When he came to the organization, number 2 in Starbucks, he said, we need to put people first. And they recreated the whole philosophy of the company. So they had to define, what do we stand for? Do we stand for selling good coffee? Important. But the actual purpose, to be one of the most well-known and respected organizations in the world, known for inspiring and nurturing human spirit. There's 0 coffee in the title of the purpose. Inspiring and nurturing human spirit. What if every employee, every manager is there to inspire and nurture human spirit? Coffee is just our way to do it. Another example. I have an accountant since 2014. Any accountants in here? Any accountants? All right, at the corners, of course, a few accountants. Fire up for accountants. This is my accountant, he's Danish. If you go to his webpage, the first thing you see, okay, I'm not going to say it, I'm going to say it in English. I help small business owners sleep better at night. He's not accounting. Accounting is his vehicle to do this. I mean, I'm going to tell you, like, I met him once, and he told me, Stoyan, I saw that you changed your address in Denmark, your personal address. You didn't change it in the system, and that can cost you a fine. Can I do it for you? He doesn't have to do that. It's not his job. That's my personal address. And he spent an hour and a half to do it. Why? Because that's his purpose. Helping small business owners sleep better at night. I don't know how to do it, right? My purpose. I have two professional purposes. Bring good people together, empower workplace culture, productivity, and care. Everything we do with my team, doesn't matter if we do speeches, corporate training, retreats in the mountains, podcasts, writing books, it's all connected to these purposes. This is why you do what you do. This is what excites me. What is the purpose of your company, and how do you translate it? Because maybe you cannot articulate the purpose of the whole company, but within your team, you can find the purpose and you can fire people up. Because when people know what their purpose is, they're a lot more likely to go through struggles. Like every person here, I've been going through a lot of struggles. I've been, the picture here, at the age of 30, award-winning producer. My company failed. I had to be a dishwasher. I took a job as a dishwasher. You think it was fun? Everybody thinks you're winning, you're succeeding, and you just, washing dishes the whole day. But it was easier because I wasn't washing dishes. That was my vehicle to live my dream full time. It took a while. Spent a year doing that. But eventually get there. When you have different struggles in your organizations, right? When people now know why they do it, they're excited. They want to do this stuff. Okay? Values is the other one. Everybody knows on the webpage of the company, on the job ad, there's the values, right? But do they really mean something? Are they compass about what we do? Again, you cannot maybe impact the whole organization, but you can impact your team. What are our values? What do we stand for? What are the philosophies that we align around? This lady, Ilma, she's from a company called MailerLite. A company called MailerLite, they built it with her husband, fully remote company. Last year, they sold the company for 90 million euro. Oh, quite okay, yeah? From Lithuania. So initially in the company, they were fully remote prior to Corona. 2012, 13, they started, right? They were fully remote company. And once a year, they bring everybody to Bali for a month or two. They hire a house, and they live together, and they work together. And the first time they did it, she realized something for herself. She realized, oh, there are some people from the team I don't want my kids to be around. And then she was like, speaking to her husband, why did we even hire these people? Because they're really good in what they do, because we can afford them, because they're available on the market. Okay, cool. But how did that impact the culture? I never met a company that hired somebody that wasn't a good culture fit, and it went well. Never. If any of you did that, let me know. It's a bump with with a delay. I don't know how it's called, right? It's always the thing. But how much do we spend into when we recruit people? Not only when we recruit, when people come on board and they are not living the values, there should be consequences. If we want the values to be this is, by the way, Mentimeter. Last week I spoke to somebody from the human resource team of Mentimeter. If somebody's not living the values, there have to be consequences. We as leaders, as managers, we need to be living the values. If punctuality is one of our values, and I'm late for a meeting last week twice, it's not really a value. How do I want my people to do that if I'm not doing it? And sometimes you identify the values, spend 2-3 years, get to the process, and these are the values of my team. And I thought everybody gets it, right? Yeah, of course, now we came together, we did a workshop session. They didn't really get it. We had to go deeper. What are the behaviors behind each value? Translated in our team. And they don't have to be politically correct. They have to be real. If I'm late, then punctuality is not a value. Value means, what do we value when we make decisions? And again, you don't have to be the CEO or the C-level. You can come together with your team and say, guys, what do we stand for? How do we work together so we can get the best out of it? And then we get more operational, right? E for effective planning. We have previously a great presentation about OKRs. Planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. What is the future we want to create? And then building it backwards. What do we do today so we can get to this future? So we need to be really clear on the vision. We have a strategy. But even more important, as the wonderful lady said, it's the strategy execution. This is where many companies are failing. You have the company goals, you have the KPIs, maybe the annual KPIs and so on. But then how do we translate that into the teams and into the departments so everybody is focused on what really matters at the end of the day? It's about planning. It's about tracking progress. I don't know what your company should do. You have to try and test. I don't know if you should be setting goals in a certain way. I don't know if OKRs are maybe a little bit too complicated for you or not. Or you have to adapt them, just like this company in Slovakia did. They didn't really take the template and started doing it. You have to adapt. You have to try. And this is agile, right? You wanna try things for a while, experiment, see what works, what doesn't work, and then move with that. Very good strategy. I shared it at the pre-event, but repetition is the mother of skill, right? A company from Hungary. So every month, but you can do it also every week, all the managers will come together in a lovely meeting with a lot of coffee, and everybody will say, hey guys, what are your top priorities? Ani, what are your top priorities for the next month for you and your department? Number 1, number 2, number 3. Some of them you can see are related to the OKRs, so you can relate them if they're connected. And now it becomes a discussion. All right, Ivan, great that you have this as a top priority, but I think you should move it to next month. How about that? So you have to defend it. And at the end of the day, you have a list of priorities for the month. Everybody can see it, it's public, and it's so much easier to organize your time and energy and resources because you know why you do it. They have a rule of thumb. So basically, the number 1 priority should take 30% of your time, energy, and resources. So top 5 priorities ideally should take like 90% of your time. Doesn't mean this should be your strategy, but you have the responsibility to create your own structure. Maybe that's one way to do it. And then, how much time do you spend as a leader on your personal productivity? To reflect, to see the whole picture. You cannot be constantly doing. We're not human doings. I mean, you have to be doing, get things done. But the most productive thing is to allow space for reflection. These are the numbers. This is my own research, kind of. But this is the average of, I've interviewed more than 350 super successful people. These are very busy people. And that's the average of what they spend. So you have to create some space for reflection on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. And also, if somebody from your team wants to create a bit of space, I'm coaching my team to spend space for planning and time management. Maybe 15 minutes a day. At the end of the day, like, what did you achieve today? What are the results? Back into the outcomes. What are the results I produced? Oh, I've been having 7 meetings. Yeah, what did you produce? We have another meeting next week. That's not productivity, guys, right? So planning, extremely important to have a cadence, to have a strategy. How do you do it individually? And then how do you do it with your team? All right? Daily time management. I personally like what Victoria does. I'm very structured with my, to-do lists. And then what I put in my calendar is like a religion. Not everything gets in the calendar. I have to have a process. So what is your process? What is the process you're coaching your team? Okay, roles and responsibilities, yeah. It's really funny with startup. Any startup founders here or in startups, when you talk to a startup founder, they come to you and like, so what do you do? I'm a chief marketing officer, and this is the CEO of a company. How many people are you? We're 3 people. But we have an intern. What do you actually do? Because the chief marketing officer in this company is going to do completely different things than the chief marketing officer in this company. This is probably the biggest complaint when I do corporate training, and managers send me the employees, and they say, I'm not going to join because it's not for me, it's for my people. Then you do the training, and people are like, I have no idea what's my role. I know what's my title, I don't know what's my role. Do we spend the time to get to know our people? Because sometimes, as leaders, we think everybody behaves like us. Like their brain should be operating the same way. Not really. Somebody who opened my eyes for that, the brand I shared with you about this guy, neurodiversity guy. Anybody knows the word neurodiversity, this fancy word? Okay, neurodiversity. Neurodiverse people are people who have, like, ADHD, dyslexia, autism. Thank you for helping me. To be honest, just like their brain operates differently. Apparently, according to studies, 20 to 40% of the workforce is neurodiverse. That's reported. It's probably more of us. We're all on the spectrum, maybe. So how do we think that everybody's going to do things the way we do? When I have somebody new on my team, I love a lot of those personality tests. For example, Clifton. Everybody's using Clifton Strength Finder. There's some of you. Because you can have a really good discussion and talk about what are your strengths beyond your role. Because maybe you are underutilized. Maybe there are some things that we can utilize in the company. Maybe you want to develop in some certain areas. Clifton, highly recommend that one. Imagine that I had somebody like this guy and I say, Cristiano, you sign up for the goalie position. I think you should take the goalie, brother. Like, when there's a new position, we'll let you know. But you take the goalie. And she's doing fine. He's okay. But am I utilizing his full potential? And I'm sure there's some Cristiano Ronaldos in your team with untapped potential that you haven't really stopped to say, what are your real strengths? Maybe some of the things that you're not doing at the moment. Where do you want to be 1 year from now, 2 years from now? Let's develop you to become that. Oh, okay, you're a marketing person, but you're actually interested in sales, business development. You know what? Let's spend a few hours of your week so you can start building this skill. Strengths. What are your strengths and what are your passions? Very good exercise I love to do as well with my team. Map of responsibilities. So one thing is the strengths, but another thing is what do you actually love to do? Hey guys, this is our department. These are all the tasks. If you can choose, nobody's going to judge you. Traffic light. Green, I love it. Yellow, kind of. Red, I hate to do that. What would you do? I'm not saying I can give you everything to be green, but I just want to know what excites you. You have these conversations with your team consistently. You try to develop them. You try to give them more responsibilities and things that they care about. And then you can do a RASI, right? Who is using RASI here? RASI matrix? Some of you. I mean, everybody's agile, right? Of course. So you can combine it with RASI and say, well, okay, I can see that you love to do that. I had somebody from my team. We were writing the first book, and she comes and she's like, oh my God, proofreading. Can I do proofreading? Can I do proofreading? Somebody loved to do that was before ChatGPT, okay? So we needed some of these people. She wanted to do proofreading. And I didn't want to give her proofreading because I'm like, I don't want to give to the intern, to do the boring stuff. But she wanted to do proofreading. There's a lot of potential that we don't. But the most important thing, you got to be clear. You have to have meetings more often. Hey guys, projects change. Do you understand your role? Do you understand your priorities and objectives? Focus on execution. One thing is to plan, strategize, right? The other thing, to get it done. Not being distracted. Being good to say no. And I know some of you will say, yeah, but I work in corporate. They push me tasks from the top. How do I say no? Tough. Really tough. Have conversations. But most of the room here was managers, actually. So you're managing people. You're pushing them. Help them out. Ask yourself this question more often. What distracts my people? Like, okay, you think about your tasks, and just sit down and reflect with a cup of coffee. What distracts my people? To focus on their core priorities. Oh, this other department is pushing tasks on her. Okay, cool. What else? They have to do administration. Okay, cool. What else? We didn't coach them to be good with their time management. Okay, cool. What else? Identify the gaps, the challenges. Maybe you're the challenge. Maybe you haven't been really clear. You're just pushing stuff on them, but you got to put yourself in their shoes. Another really good one, meetings. Anybody here ever joined a meeting and they felt, I shouldn't be at that meeting. I don't know what the fuck am I doing here. They did a report. The cost of unnecessary meeting attendance. And they asked, I think, thousands of people, and they found out that this is the time people report that they are on meetings. So the top one is, how many meetings per week do I take? And the bottom one is, how many hours per week meetings am I having? So in general, 17 hours of meetings from 40-hour work week. 18 hours of meetings, 18 hours per week, 17 meetings per week. The managers is even worse, 22.2 hours of meetings per week. And then when they asked them how many of this one necessary, the manager said 6.5 hours from 40 were unnecessary. Put it on monthly, put it on yearly. How many hours? And change starts with you guys here. You're the change agents. You have to take this and say, you know what? I don't care about the organization. I'm going to be efficient. First of all, when I organize a meeting, I'm going to send an agenda. I'm only going to invite the people that needs to be there. I'll be very clear. I'll set up the objective, the clear objective of the meeting. So I'm going to be the change, and hopefully I can create a change. And if somebody invites me to a meeting that I shouldn't be in, I would at least say, do I really have to be there? I have really important things to do. These are my priorities. And this is the other thing. When you know your priorities, and when you know the priorities, your team knows their priorities, you can move forward faster. It's easier for me to go and say, Nicola, I would love to have a cup of coffee with you, but right now I'm working on this really important project. It's part of my priorities. These are my priorities right now. Every week I want to know what are my top 3 priorities. And I discussed with my team. And if they don't know, I ask them, what do you think are your priorities? give them ownership. And then, of course, I give them some feedback and say, well, yeah, that's good, but maybe you can move it. These are the priorities. I need to spend the majority of my time and energy to live my priorities. Otherwise, I'm not making improvement. And it's easier for me to say no. Doesn't mean that you can say no to the CEO that wants to put you in a meeting or whatever. But your boss comes to you and says, can you do this thing? And you already have 17 things open. You can go to the boss and say, hey, I'll be happy to do this if you want me to do it today. Right now, I'm working on these 2 projects. Which of those 2 do you think I should drop? Because I cannot finish both of them. Help me out. You know what? I'll just figure it out. Or they'll say, it's not for today. It was in my head. It was like a monkey. I just wanted to put, right? But you have to be the example. Deep work mornings is another strategy some companies are doing. They have this idea that you go to the office the first 2-3 hours. It's creative time. Everybody knows, don't disturb time. Do deep work. Finish this contract, finish the accounting, finish this proposal. In the afternoon, we have a lot of meetings. But these are strategies you have to come up with and say, which one do we do? Okay? Optimal energy. We had a session before that and that. What do we do to inspire people to be at the top of their energy? To have right habits, to sleep well, to be around good people. What do we do? Do we buy them some sports cars? Do we have a discussion on the topic? Do we talk about well-being? Are we the example? We show up and we're fully with energy. We go to the gym. We do the stuff. Some companies, some organizations have these kind of discussions. We came up with this strategy. Somebody from a team suggested it. And we came up with a strategy. Every week we have a personal development hour. 60 to 90 minutes company time. Some people will say, wow, that's a lot, man. That's very expensive. This is the best spent hours of the company. We talk about topics like personal habits. I will bring an external expert. People connect. Because it's a win-win-win. If I take care of my people and they take care of themselves, they will perform better. They'll be more motivated. Good for them, good for me, good for the company. It's a win-win-win. So what do you do to take care of the energy of the people? Robust communication. This one, I have 30 minutes. This requires a week to talk about. I spoke to a movie producer once, cinematographer from Hollywood. And I was very excited to talk to him because I'm a movie guy. And asked him, Shane, what is your biggest challenge as a leader, as a cinematographer? And what did he say? He said, my biggest challenge as a leader, as a filmmaker, is to ensure that every person from my team is making the same movie. Is every person from your team making the same movie? Is the sales and operations and product making the same movie? Or do we have to create some kind of a different alignment? I cannot tell you what this alignment should be, but you got to keep it simple. How often do we have communication? Maybe using Teams or some kind of softwares, you're restricted, but how do we use these softwares so we can communicate well? Which thing is a meeting? Which thing is an email? Which thing is, we have to talk about these things, right? Feedback culture, the other one. We're not really good with feedback at this geographical part of the world, right? Especially down, bottom up. I'm not going to tell him, he's not going to listen anyway. Well, we have to create a safe space as managers to allow for this feedback to come. If we get a feedback with defensive, how do we expect people to come and listen? It's not going to happen. It takes time. It takes years sometimes to build this culture. But you have to start from somewhere. Finally, last but not least, mental toughness. Your capability to deal with challenges, your capability to deal with stressors. First of all, you as a leader, the president of Starbucks told me, the challenge that I've seen is people are performing well, leaders performing well in good times, and when the shit hits the fan, they change. They start pointing fingers. They become authoritarian. The way you lead in times of crisis is going to define you as a leader. It might be a small crisis, a big crisis. The way you lead in a crisis is going to define you as a leader. What do you do in the storm? Everybody can be good when there's, smooth times. What do you do in the storm? A lady from Estonia, she was the CEO of Tallinn Stock Exchange, and she told me, you don't have the luxury to show up with a bad mood and to spread this energy. Everybody here is a CMO. You're the Chief Motivation Officer. Especially in bad times, especially in crisis. How do you motivate your people when things are going down for a few months and you're losing customers and the business is bad? And how do you keep showing up? This is what will define you as a leader, right? Mental toughness, building the resilient team, translating this to the team, okay? This one, I do it, it's an exercise, by the way. This is just a structure, a little bit of a structure. I do it with my team. We've done it with hundreds of teams around the world. What do? You tell the people these are the areas, right? And then you tell them from 1 to 10, how do you guys think we perform in these areas? You know, on purpose and values, on effective planning. I did it once with my team. One of people of my team said, effective planning, I think it's a 4. I had 9. I'm the productivity guy. And she said, we have 4 with planning. What's going on, right? So we had to have an interesting discussion. And she was right. I wasn't really clear in communicating the plans. I was good with creating them, but I work more hours than her. She leaves, and then she comes back, and we're doing something completely different. So you do that, I would say every couple of months, or if it's necessary more, you'll see some really great things, guys. You'll identify the gaps. So I recommend you to have a bit of a structure. And that being said, coming back to where we started, at the end of the day, if you remember just this slide, every day you show up at work, you think about how can I be productive? How can my team be productive? And what do I do as a leader to take care of my people? Caring is not a bad word. Caring is not a soft word. Caring is about keeping people accountable. Caring is about helping people grow. So if we have these two, then we'll be fine. I'll be happy to connect with you guys. It's my LinkedIn. If we haven't been connected, please come and connect. And if you are Stoyan Yankov, right? I can see he's already kind of coming to the stage. And if you're into podcasts, you can find my podcast everywhere. It's called Productivity Mastery. And last but not least, last time Nicola was like, dude, we had so many people, they wanted to get your book. You didn't get any books. So I got some books. I never done it, so I don't know how to do it, but I have a pink stand in the back. I have a bunch of books. If anybody wants to buy a book or just come and chat with me, I'll be in the pink stand in the back. So thank you so much. Let's keep performing.